BodyBags, where horror lies.
Hey guys, Rob from George here with you. It is week 320, and this week I thought I would salute old Sid Haig. Unfortunately, back in September, he left us at the age of 80, and we have been reeling ever since. And so thinking about what movie could I do, and just really just celebrate his life and career. Well, I thought I would just start at the beginning. And not only is it really representative of just an incredible career that would unfold, but it also historically harkens my involvement with just doing videos and such. I remember back in episode 39 of the 22 Shots, Moods and Horror, way back in 2015, they, of course, the spotlight was Jack Hill's Spider Baby. And I had never even heard of this movie before. I knew who Lon Chaney Jr. was, but I had never heard of the movie. And so upon listening to the review, I immediately went ahead and, as quick as I could, I can't remember if it was already out then or not, but because of that review, I did get my hands on the Arrow release of Spider Baby. And about a year later, or not so long, I did my very first episode for what I called back then my 22 Shots of Appreciation. And the first episode, of course, was for Spider Baby. And so I thought I would actually, since this is number 50 of BodyBags review, I thought I would, go back and really look at this movie in a way that I think I probably rarely or hardly did way back when. And so Spider Baby, 1964, but not really released until 67, and most likely I would imagine the drive-in circuit of its day. Jack Hill, of course, this is his, believe it's his directorial debut, and of course Sid Haig's, pretty much his feature film actorial debut. But what makes this copy really special, if you love Sid Haig, is they included his Jack Hill's first short and Sid Haig's first actorial debut on his little short called The Host. And so if you really want to go back and see what Sid was all up to the first time he stepped in front of a camera, for the most part, then this Arrow release of Spider Baby is what you need to have. And plus, Sid Haig enjoys a bit of commentary with Jack Hill, which is phenomenal to listen to as well. And Spider Baby. Again, episode 39 of the 22 Shots. I mean, I was like, what? What the heck is this movie? I've never even heard of this movie. And when I did finally lay my hands on it and watched it for the first time, I was absolutely blown away. And it didn't take me long to start really thinking through not just the influence this film would have on later films, but where this film, in fact, had come from. Now, Jack Hill doesn't really give much in way of influences in terms of, what shaped this film that we have, Spider Baby or The Maddest Story Ever Told. But, you can't help when you're thinking recluse, psychotic families. I mean, you can't help not think of James Whale's The Old Dark House. And in a little bit of research, too, I came across, I think it was 1962, there was a book called We Still Live in the We Have Always Lived in the Castle. Shirley Jackson had written this book. And I don't know if Jack Hill had read the book or not, but I've read that perhaps there is an influence tie-in as well. The stories are, somewhat related. But what would it influence? I mean, I don't know. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. How about Rob Zombie's own House of a Thousand Corpses, which evolved into The Devil's Reject, which of course we know just got capped off, which should be in my mailbox 3 from Hell this Tuesday, I believe. And so I'll get a chance to take a first look at that. But we do remember Sid Haig, and what a just incredible career he had. I don't have a lot of his films, but I mean, Bone Tomahawk was one of the later ones. Galaxy of Terror is a favorite of mine from the 80s. And you know, I mean, just of course, I think he was in Coffee and some of the other blaxploitation films of Jack Hill, and Sid Haig, man, he even guest hosted on Dukes of Hazzard, which is funny. That clip's on YouTube. But Spider Baby, so what do you have here? I mean, you have Lon Chaney Jr. Of course, he plays the chauffeur and protector of the family, Bruno. Kara Ohmart as Emily, and of course Redeker, Quinn Redeker as Peter. They're cousins, right? And Beverly Washburn as Elizabeth, and Jill Banner, of course, Virginia, and those two are sisters. Mary of the Mary family that we'll get to know, and of course Sid Haig as Ralph. And you got those three siblings, Virginia and Elizabeth and Ralph, who probably, well, Ralph in his worst way, but they all, you know, they're the end of the line of this marriage. Well, perhaps are they? And that becomes a question throughout the film and towards the end of the film, which is left open. And it's great to listen to Jack Hill's comment on how he had already had ideas actually to push the story forward in quite an innovative, creative way. I really wish he would get the chance to do this. I think it would be pretty awesome. But Spider Baby, really what you have here is, you know, Lon Chaney, like I said, takes care of this family, and they're at the end of their line, and they're like hidden away in this house, and they've garnered their own reputation over the years, and it's kind of like the spook house, right? And no one goes near it. In fact, we do have an opening scene involving a mailman of sorts who comes to deliver a package, and of course he'll meet his demise very early on in a very, very, very spooky, really, I don't know how to explain it. It is, I don't know if I've ever really seen a scene like that before, but as you get to know the family through our narrator, Redeker, Peter, who also always plays the narrator, him and his cousin, they come and to try to lay claim to this inheritance or the estate or whatnot, not realizing the full extent of what has become of this family. You've got some that are unlike the old dark house, where we have a demented relative hidden away up in the attic somewhere. In this, you've got relatives who have been hidden away in the basement. And this movie touches on so many taboo subjects along the way. Everything from incest to rape to, I guess necromancy is the right word to put it. I mean, it just hits on so many weird but subtle ways, so many levels that it's... I mean, this movie, you put on this movie and you get assaulted by so many different things, but the movie never goes beyond itself in terms of assaulting your senses. Not like movies would later on and do today. They feel the need to not be as near as subtle. But the problem with that is something like Spider Baby. You can hit all these major taboos, but do it such a subtle way, but it still assaults you in a really somewhat unnerving way that movies today just they really can't do, or they struggle to do. I mean, I think about House of the Thousand Corpses, and as it moved on, evolved into Rejects. Have not seen the third piece yet, but you know, Rob was able to hit, you know, some areas there, and via how he approached it is unnerving. But to think what Jack Hill was able to create without assaulting the senses with language and gore and just all these sometimes unnecessary tropes, I guess. He was able to create a film that even today, for today's audiences who are not aware of Jack Hill, not aware of Spider Baby, to sit down and watch this movie first time through, it's like, this was made when? 1964? This is insane. I mean, it won't see the light of the drive-in circuit until 67, but still, I mean, and in a similar fun kind of way, House of a Thousand Corpses, right, will also go through kind of its own weird delay for other reasons. Universal pretty much gets assaulted by a zombie in probably not so different way than they got assaulted initially by screening Spider Baby by Jack Hill. And so, you know, the two do share that in common. But anyways, the relatives come in with their lawyer, you know, and through the course of a night or so, they will, you know, they will basically fall into the hands of what's left of this merry family. And it's the kind of movie that you don't really want to talk too much about, because so much of it is worth being enjoyed. I mean, there's the dinner table scene, which really, I don't know if it had ever really been done before. I mean, I know in the Old Dark House there is a dinner table scene, but not until we would see in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a scene quite like this that unfolds in Spider Baby. Not quite to the degree in Chainsaw, but in its own weird way. And at the same time, there's an awesome line that Lon Chaney delivers, which harkens back to his character in the original Wolfman in 41, and which is delivered sometimes, you know, if these things happen today in film, they usually come across so cheesy, but man, that line is delivered so classy, and the way it's received and the way it comes off the screen is one of the greatest tipping of the hats to not only his career, Lon Chaney's career, but the film, his legacy, and Universal, and just all that had come before. Spider Baby in its own way becomes a benchmark for all that is to come ahead. And so if you have never, by some weird chance, never seen this film, you know, this is one of those rarities where I would say, without even seeing it, you need to just get the Arrow copy. For the commentary, for Sid Haig, for Lon Chaney Jr., for the other cast members that are just absolutely incredible in this movie to watch. The original short, The Host, a lot to be in a book, a lot to be desired in this film to have in our collection. And it is a benchmark of things to come down the road. And so I just wanted to take a few minutes and celebrate not just a career that unfortunately we saw come to its end, but also Jack Hill and a benchmark of filmmaking in terms of just films that used to, in a way, be able to unnerve without assaulting our senses with just the overflow of a lot of sometimes unnecessary things to gain their point. I think just Rob Zombie's films, to a degree, have done an effective job in doing that, but in doing it, he has to also hit certain things that you just weren't, they were just absent in Jack Hill's film, and yet it still delivers, even today. I don't think this movie has lessened at all. It still delivers the punch that he, that I'm sure, I can't imagine how fortunate people would have been not knowing, sitting at a drive-in late at night watching this movie, wondering, what the freaking crap is this? And having a blast with it, I hope, and not realizing just the benchmark in filmmaking that this movie, in terms of its cult status and whatnot, right? So anyways, Sid Haig, a career to be remembered and to be celebrated, a film that needs to be remembered and celebrated, and a director as well. And the longing to see perhaps a vision initiated in '64 to be extended somewhat. I would love to see, in fact, even on the commentary, Jack Hill and Sid Haig joke around and about the possibilities there could be in seeing this story moved forward. And one can only hope, right, in this day and age. But anyways, from Arrow, Spider Baby, Jack Hill, and man, if you've never seen it, what are you waiting for? You really need to check this out. And this is Rob from Georgia again. This is BodyBags, and I am your Wednesday night host. And keep plugging away. We're about a week away, I think, from our Halloween-themed conclusion to October, and so be prepped for that as we take a look at the Halloween franchise all the way through, man, all the way through. I'm not sure how that's going to work yet, but aside from seeing what falls when. So get ready for that. Anyways, as always, go Bills.